don't like those lowering up those dollies and those crib blocks.
Huh.
No, it isn't all on First F.
I came out of the world's slowest trickle. It was like, I used this downstairs one, but your dad unplugged it. You should check on your dad's like arm muscles tomorrow. Because he finished in there, and then he said, hey, you mind, where do you want me to move this stuff? I was like, I don't know. And I said, if you don't have to move anything. Like, Josh and I can take care of it. But if you want to, like, we've got some space in that room over there, like the old nursery side room. And he was like, yeah, I can make this work. And I said, okay. Whatever you want to do, don't push yourself or whatever, we're fine. As you notice, nothing's in there, and everything in there has been moved around. Like he Tetrised everything, including like the pianos and stuff. He never asked me like if I wanted to help. I didn't know he was going to do that. I thought he was going to move some stuff in there. I could have helped him, but I'm like, your dad is tinier than I am. Like, that had to have hurt, right?
We got to get rid of some pianos. Do you
Want
know
3
anybody?
pianos?
You know anybody who can use some pianos?
I put it on eBay.
We don't even need money for it. Have a
Say
piano
free,
for 1
free,
cent
free.
and shipping.
I'll put it on, get on Facebook tomorrow, I guess.
Only on the free stuff page, and make sure to write, you have to move it.
If they're local, I'll move it for them.
Because like Chris, you don't know Chris McMurray, do you? He's the dad of one of Lucy's preschool friends, but he's also like one of the most prolific people on the St. John's Facebook page. Like he's a big, young, maybe like early 40s, black guy, really sweet, the sweetest dude. He'll engage in conversation. You've probably seen his face, but he was in a pretty big band in the early 90s. He plays keyboards, and he was looking at a piano in here. This was 6 years ago. He said, I would really like this, because I had mentioned you can have one, and I was like, we can't transport it, but if you can figure out a way, you can just have it.
How far did he live in here?
He lives in St. John's. I don't know where, but I was like, yeah, if you can figure out a way, you can just have it. Like it's fine. And
Put some dollars under it.
he never came back. But if
Get outside, just put dollars on it, you can move anywhere you want to go.
Yeah, at this point, we've got to do something with them so we can.
St. John's is
them.
too big. Like if he lives a mile and a half away, I ain't pushing a dolly with a freaking piano. That's a long way.
We've got Mike's trailer that I can hook my van up to.
Right. And if the piano fell out, it would be hilarious. Like, it would suck to clean up. But you imagine the explosion of wood and keys, ivory, if a piano fell out of a trailer.
You just keep going.
Crap everywhere. Like, that would be the worst.
Keep going.
It would also, like, the piano would roll and hit one of the cars on the street. Like, it would just be a nightmare of a situation.
We'll just go dump them off on the side of the interstate.
Well, I mean,
like all the other
like there was right.
homeless people do.
Right, we could drop it off at a camp. Like if you bring a guitar to like a group of houseless people, like chances are one of them plays and plays amazingly. And I imagine the same's true of piano. Like have you ever seen someone on the street like he's like, hey, if I'm playing guitar, he sees it. Hey, can I play something? So I'll give it to him. This happened a lot in Eugene. These dudes can shred. Like they can play like crazy. And I imagine if we dropped off a piano like at the cut, someone would do something incredible with it, but
How
like,
you get in there?
I'm not bringing a piano there. I'm just saying it would be cool. I'm not gonna do it.
Do it 2 a.m.
Let's just drag one of them outside, right here.
You know, if there were there was the one that was put in Cathedral Park. Is there a way to like weatherproof a piano?
You just let it go, but
So it would, like, in time, it would probably last 3 to 4 months, right? Outside?
yeah, it would honky tonk, all sorts of.
It'd be good.
I mean, the tuning would go out almost immediately, right? Like, it would,
The tuning is already completely out, so
yeah,
yeah.
that's fair. Good. We can hear.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's,
Everything we said has been recorded, Kevin.
it's okay, no one watched this. It's all good. Yeah, I know. I did think about that because Derek mentioned bringing one, like putting it out on the parks like the city was doing. If there was a way to weatherproof a piano, and again, I don't see, you can't put a sealant on it or anything.
Put a plastic sheet over it.
Yeah, that wouldn't really. I mean, anything you did would damage the sound of it. But it's also an outdoor piano, like it's not going to have a great sound. The idea is the coolest of having a piano just sitting out there.
I put it on.
Of course, then one of the neighbors would complain, "I'm hearing piano at 2 a.m."
Too bad.
Right, right. I mean, if
The cops don't come no more.
well, and
So
also
they can call
like
10 times.
if let's be real here. If someone's like high, playing piano is a better noise than screaming at 2 a.m. Like I would take someone. I don't want to stereotype, but they've been pretty open about how they were. Some of those early 70s Pink Floyd albums, those dudes were high out of their mind, and they made some beautiful music. So maybe we put a piano out there, 2 a.m, some people come up with some amazing music, right?
Because the cops don't come no more.
have Dark Side of the Moon Part 2.
They're starting to come though.
Huh?
They're starting to come back.
Who are?
The cops.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I had a fireplace, and then they got green days, yellow days, and red days. Red and yellow you can't burn too much, and then yellow days. And I get a paper that says I can burn anytime for the county.
Really?
Yeah, and
What, at your house?
yeah, I can burn wood in my house.
Oh, in your house. Okay, yeah.
Then they call the fire department, and the department shows up, ask me, "You can't burn." I said, "I got paper." Yeah.
Are there rules for
Yep.
like burning in your own fireplace? Really? Oh, I just figured it's your fireplace.
Nope, you need to have it papered.
Wow. I got I grew up in Klamath Falls. I don't think there are rules about anything in Klamath Falls. When you talk about the South, like Southern Oregon, they don't give a crap what you do, dude. They do not.
Because I got a friend, he can't get one,
Really?
because he's on welfare.
Oh.
And I'll tell you, I'll get you in there. I'll get you one. Let me move your house for about 40 days. Just put matching there for 40 days, and let the state know that I moved there, and I'll get you one.
Why don't you just get like an electric one
And about
or a gas
2
one?
weeks later, here the paper comes.
See y'all. Have a great night.
So he got one, that one.
Okay.
Because I lied on the paperwork. I lived there.
Wow. And that worked?
Yeah, it worked.
Wow.
I don't think they've checked nothing.
Nah. Well, hopefully they don't.
He had it for almost 3 months, right?
Oh, well then you're probably out of the woods. I mean, yeah. Do we have any prayer requests tonight? Right now there's no one on the live chat. Some people might come, but if you do at some point, or if YouTube is lying to me and there are people there, you can put your prayer requests in the chat. But do we have any prayer requests here? Obviously, you, Kevin, we want to be praying for your possible COPD, maybe your heart, maybe your lungs, maybe your brain, maybe some weird mix of all of them. The thing you find out about the body over time, you know this, is that everything's connected. And so if you have something, you probably have something else somewhere else. Like it's all connected, and it's really annoying. Josh, you got any prayer requests? Or any great things?
Not directly.
How was, you had a good time skiing? Did you go with the family?
Yeah, we all went. It was interesting.
How's that?
There was a lot of emotions. Kind of from the beginning as we left,
Sure.
and the car ride, and just kind of unexpected emotions that were just like, Lauren and I would look at each other and just like kind of laugh and like,
Oh, kids'
what
emotions.
is
Yeah.
going on and happening here?
Yeah. Those are tough ones, because you're like, what do we do here?
Yeah, and it was like 0 to 80 like in a second, like it was just these emotions and feelings just flipping on a dime. And then, I participated then in some of those emotions.
Yeah. You freaked out from the front?
Yeah, we actually got up the mountain and it kind of continued, and I freaked out on the mountain once.
Nice.
It was just like, we all had really short fuses or something. But
Does skiing help that? Like, did
sort of, theoretically. And I think some of it too is like it's late in the season enough where we're not super excited to go. It's not like, I can't wait to go to Disneyland. It's like, yeah, I'm excited to go skiing, but we went last week.
But I've done it. Yeah.
And so it was really good, and something it forced us to work through those, like we couldn't retreat. We had to kind of work through those together. And you ask everyone in our family, and everybody had right now, and they would say, "Oh, I had a really great fun day." And sometimes it didn't quite feel like it in the moment, but it was really good. All in all, like we were able to really, enjoy it.
Those emotions are funny. I feel safe saying this because everyone does this, but it's a thing of like, the ones who freak out don't actually remember that they did a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like they'll come back and be like, today was great. And they don't actually remember that for a while they made it suck a little bit. Like it wasn't fun and it was my fault. But it's not, their fault. You just sort of forget those things.
Yeah.
Good. We wanna be praying for Pat Chapman. She's got a doctor's appointment next week. They're gonna check her out and see. She's gonna meet with the surgeon and see if she needs surgery. So hopefully that. Hopefully she doesn't. But if she does, I hope it happens soon. So that'll be good. Nikki keeps looking better every week, man.
Yeah.
Like, I think the treatments, the radiation worked like really fast. I'm hoping. It seems to be working, so that's a huge praise. Well, let's start with a word of prayer, and then we'll get into some Bible. God, thank you so much for all that you are, all that you do. We lift up right now Kevin and Josh and his family, and Pat and Nikki and Patsy and Tom and everyone else in this church. God, we thank you for the opportunity to get to worship together, to praise together, to go through life with one another. And we know that there are some hardships, but God is such a gift. So be with us today. Be with this time. Be with our discussion here, and help us know better what it is to be your people here on this earth. We pray in your holy name. Amen. So today we're going to talk about power. We've been talking about the image of God, and by the way, I wrote this last night, and I came here this morning to finish setting up, and I had clipped the red pen back up here, and the pen was on the floor and the cap was up here. I don't think I clipped it enough, and so the red pen is dead. There's no more red pen.
I thought that that's the power that you wrote. Like,
Yeah, I wrote power, and that was its last hurrah. it was.
And then
The power just sucked right out of it. It's gone.
You better get one in the next 2 weeks because the dog store's going out.
The dog show's going out?
Dollar store.
Dollar store.
Going bye-bye.
What?
Yep.
Since when?
Since St. John's knocked and broke every window and probably
They did.
stole half.
That's true. That's true. It's gotten.
You see those stores down in Robert? They got one up there on Wall Street too.
Oh man, yeah. I felt worse for the dollar store than almost anyone. I'm like, who loots the dollar store? It's there. Like that's the only store where I feel like they're a chain, of course, but they're the last chain that I would think is in it to make a buck. They only make a buck per thing. They're not getting any profit. $1.25, yeah. Man, that sucks. Okay. Well,
if you wouldn't buy the pens, you better buy them soon.
Well, now I'm pissed. All right. So what are some ways that we humans, whether it's Josh, me, Kevin, or anyone else, what are some ways that we hold power in society? What are some ways that we can be powerful or use power?
I just can't help but think of the omnipotent.
Omnipotent?
Yep, and the Friends.
Oh, yeah.
No, I think right now, definitely, Putin is probably the
Sure. Yeah.
epitome of power right now. And,
Yeah.
They're fighting on the ham radio.
Political
Big
power
bad
for
news
sure.
to come.
That's a good, you know what? You were just mentioning a thing, but so we got political power, but also like social power. Like I don't know how else you might say it, but getting, if you want to cause some problems, you get together a group of people and break windows at the Dollar Tree and loot the place, right? Like that's a way of exuding power, getting a posse together or whatever. So ham radio, that's a way of being powerful.
They don't have enough buses to get out of the country.
Right. Yeah. No, it's awful. But we'll say internet definitely, or ham radio or whatever. Like the only way we know that they don't have enough buses to get out is because they're telling us over some of these things. So that's a way of showing power.
What's happened in this country?
Huh?
I don't know what's going on in this country. They didn't do nothing yet.
That's true.
Because we went over there on Vietnam. We went over there in the Vietnam War. Fight over there. We went over there to Iraq over there. We fought with them.
Afghanistan, Yemen. We fought many wars.
Why we stop in this country? This country here is small.
Yep. War is definitely a way of exuding power. You can talk weapons for sure. Should this be maybe our new font? You're always talking about fonts that you like or don't like.
yes.
Should I just use my chicken scratch writing and make that our new church font?
As long as it's consistent.
I don't even know if this is. Look at my A's. A, and like they're all different.
You have different styles of A.
I know. Every time.
Like that one's the A, like the backwards.
Somehow I'm inconsistent when I write on the same day with the same hand on the same board with the same marker.
Money.
Money. Oh gosh, money. Yeah. People with money have a lot of power. People, charisma. Like, people listen to people who can speak or gather a crowd. Yep. I mean, not to name names, but Trump rallies were big for a reason. Obama's rallies were good for a reason. Like, people like someone who has a charisma, and both of them did.
Too bad we don't have Trump in office now.
Well, we like people like charismatic leaders. Is the
Here we go, Kevin.
You and I might differ on
I'm
that,
too
but
old to go over there and fight.
Yeah, these are all ways. Just I don't know, aggression. Being a jerk. I'm just thinking about my kids in elementary school and like the way people in school.
Beat 'em up.
Yeah, you just be mean and be like kind of like when you're trying to scare away a bear. Just make yourself big, right?
Yep.
Joyce, Bud, how you doing this morning?
Hey, man,
Evening.
you're late.
It's not morning.
You told me you'd be camping out at my house.
You've been camping outside tonight and said how good it is outside. When it gets down to 40 degrees.
Oh, that's fine. Everything go all right?
Yep.
Hey.
Good.
You're looking at a 10%er.
Wow.
10% of the population
She's
has my
impressed with
eyes.
his eyes, and he lets everyone know.
Does it get better with age?
Well, for me, it does. I don't know.
Me
about
too.
anybody
Have to put $50,000-$60,000 in them.
Hey, is that Matt? Yeah. Matt Shea, how you doing? Good.
Hey,
Good.
You know how I did that
Yeah,
Sunday?
look what
I
you
hit
did.
them. Be here. We're gonna lock you out of church.
Look what you did. You single-handedly did this.
Good job.
I don't think that's
It's all
real.
his fault.
Yeah. Kevin's covered in IVs today. He's
Really? You're giving
he just
blood?
came in showing off his.
You giving blood, or they just
No.
take it away?
They just take it away, find out what's matter to me.
Yeah.
I could have told them that before you even stick you with a needle.
They stick it and they put some in this thing and come down in here and do a blood thing in here and you know I'm all word up.
Yeah. You know what they tell you to do?
What?
Eat less, right? Yeah.
I knew it.
Stop drinking soda. That's what he said.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One more.
Oh, did they? Yeah.
Well, how you know? You'd be
You
watching
just
me.
told me.
I drink soda and go out of style.
Well,
But it's diet up.
have you ever heard of water? Water's free. Soda costs you money.
I'll sell my bill to you then.
Yeah, my water bill is pretty expensive.
I think it's cheaper than a soda bill.
If you get real
Are you kidding me?
desperate, You can walk all the way down the Willamette River and get a bucket full. I don't recommend
Boil
drinking
it
that water,
first.
but
I would go to Clackamas River before you go down there.
that's not much better.
Better than rabbit.
Well, either way is either river is probably better than just pounding a
If
bunch of soda.
If you lived in Oregon City, Gladstone, Milwaukee, that's where they're getting their water, right out of the Willamette.
It's far enough upstream though. So.
Really?
It's not either.
Are they really?
No. Well, yeah, they get the water from there, but
Okay.
Hey, you
Yeah.
go down a boat?
you go down.
Go down that boat and go down there and see all the stuff floating on top of the water. That stuff kill you.
Well, as a kid, we wouldn't even swim in there. As a kid.
I never went swimming in there. I go in the ocean,
that's
swim
another-
and go in there.
That's another issue for you, so.
Well,
We didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. That's great. We've been talking about different ways that people use power in the world, and I'm going to remind us, we're actually going to be in the book of Luke chapter 10 later, but I want to remind us of our main passage that we've come back to and back to and back to over this time, which is Genesis chapter 1. Starting in verse 26, it says, "Then God said, 'Let us make humankind in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the wild animals of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth.' So God created humankind in his image. In the image of God he created them, male and female he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, 'Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth.' God said, 'See, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is upon the face of the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit, you shall have them for food. And every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has the breath of life, I have given every green plant for food.' And it was so." So just in that passage, we have a lot of ways in which God, from the beginning, gives people power and authority over everything he's made. He makes people in his image, and then he says, have dominion over the land, have dominion over the food, have dominion over the birds and the plants and the animals, everything. Subdue it, care for it, use it for food. He's giving them control and authority and all kinds of power. As image bearers, as images of God, we have power. And that power can be used both for good and for evil. So I guess let's start with evil, because it's easier. What are some ways in which people use their power for evil?
To expand.
Huh?
To expand.
To expand. Wow, good one. You're thinking of Putin, aren't you? Yeah.
Well, how about just the United States?
Just so you, yeah.
We expanded from 13 states to a whole nation.
Yeah, we did.
Took over everything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. You could argue some good there, but a lot of evil was done in that time for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Expansion. How else do we use power for bad?
Exploitation.
Exploitation.
money.
Money, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think of Madoff a lot. He, he was in the news for Bernie Madoff. He was in the news forever, and then all of a sudden, he went to prison, so people stopped talking about him. But even still, people are still suffering due to his, swindling them out of thousands, tens of thousands, millions of dollars. Yeah, money, absolutely used for evil. How about good? How do we use power? I mentioned to Josh before, I broke his red pen. I ruined it, so it's all black today. How do we use power for good?
Well, the money could go there too.
Absolutely, 100%. God, that was awful. Okay, that'll, whatever, you know what it is.
I mean, I'd have to say being fruitful and multiplying.
Mm-hmm. Unless, say your kids fight in the backseat of the car. That doesn't always feel like good.
Well, it's in the backseat.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
that's true. They had an interesting day. I think of like expansion and especially exploitation, predominantly bad, but they're
You could choose sharing.
yeah.
Sharing resources, sharing.
Right.
things.
There are absolutely ways of using what you have for good, sharing. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think of somebody with power influencing people
Yeah.
for good.
Positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, positive.
Influence, absolutely. And we can see that in the smallest of ways. We can see that in huge ways. We can see how people can change minds or change hearts in a big setting. You can also see just on a Sunday morning when you're here and you check in on someone, you say, how was your week? Listen to them for 10 minutes, and suddenly, like, you can tell on their face how much better they are after you talked with them than before. That's a way of influencing power on, and like using your power for good for other people. Yeah, power is used for bad purposes so much that I think it has sort of a rotten, it feels rotten to us. But power isn't inherently bad. The trick to power is that it can be used for evil or for good. And when God created us, he gave us the call to use our power for good. In Leviticus chapter 19, it says to care for the elderly. In Numbers chapter 9, it says to care for the foreigner, the alien. Throughout, if you read the second half of Exodus, and
Are you listening?
if you read the second half of Exodus, if you read Numbers, if you read Deuteronomy, Leviticus, all of those, like, it's so boring to read. But if you look at what the laws are pointing out, almost always they involve lifting up the ones who are suffering. And usually it'll say, remember how you suffered in Egypt, so care for the ones who are experiencing what you experienced. And we always have the chance to lift up those who are hurting. And so today we're going to be looking at Luke chapter 10. A very, very familiar story. In fact, one that I don't even remember which one of us talked about it. Either Josh or myself talked about it a couple of months ago. I don't remember who it was. Good Samaritan, was that you? I think that was you.
No, it was you.
Was it me?
Yeah, because it made a big impact from my life. So I continue to talk about it.
Oh, okay. I feel like it was you. I've heard you mention it a lot. So Luke chapter 10, starting in verse 25, we see power used or not used in some really interesting ways. Josh, do you mind reading maybe up through to verse 28?
And behold, a lawyer stood up to put him to the test, saying, Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? And he said to them, What is it written in the law? How do you read it? And he answered, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And he said to him, You have answered correctly. Do this, and you will live.
Okay. Already we have this idea of power coming up, right? love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself. Everything that you can do it to lift up your neighbor. Joyce, do you have the text out?
Yeah.
Do you mind continuing at verse 29?
29 to what?
Until you want to stop. We're going to go through 37. It's kind of a big chunk, but
But he, willing to justify himself, said unto Jesus, and who is my neighbor? And Jesus answering said, a certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and fell among thieves, which stripped him of his raiment, and wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. And by chance there came down a certain priest that way, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. And likewise a Levite, when he was at the place, came and looked on him, and passed by on the other side. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion on him, and went to him and bound up his wound, pouring in oil and wine, and set him on his own beast, and brought him to an inn, and took care of him. And on the morrow, when he departed, he took out 2 pence, and gave them to the host, and said unto him, take care of him, and whatsoever thou spendest more, when I come again, I will repay thee. Which now of these 3 thinkest thou was neighbor unto him that fell among the thieves? And he said, he that showed mercy on him. Then said Jesus unto him, go and do thou likewise. That's
all right.
37.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joyce. So the priest and the Levite. Let's start out and not villainize them right away. Just to spoil this whole thing, we're not going to end with they did a good thing. They didn't do a good thing here, but let's not villainize them right away.
Hey, they were wearing their Sunday best.
Right. Let's go there. Why do you think they might not have helped? And there could be like 30 reasons here.
Well, we
They're-
don't know the guy, he might have been a Samaritan himself. He's unclean.
That's true. He's unclean. Absolutely.
The reason they didn't help is because it would have ruined Jesus' point.
I didn't think about that.
it would have ruined the story, and then Jesus couldn't tell it. So they knew ahead of time, right?
Well, if you're wearing jeans, it's all right to get dirty, but, if you're not wearing jeans,
It's true.
you don't want to get all dirty.
Yeah. I mean, that's
This guy got beat up. He was
right.
bleeding.
He's bleeding out. If
Maybe
you're
they didn't have any medical skills.
Yeah, they didn't necessarily have medical skills. If you imagine them, if you put them in our world and they're wearing
They
full-on
didn't
suit
have
and tie,
transportation,
Yeah.
sounded like. This guy had a donkey or something else.
right. We don't know what they're doing. They're walking. Are they going to pick up a dude bleeding out in their suit and tie?
They might have had their Sunday book with them, and that's all they can manage.
Yeah.
You know how it is with 2 kids?
Oh, I know.
You got 2 kids. You know how it is to manage 2 kids.
Yeah.
You don't have time to be stopping and, doing the
Right.
shift.
Especially if one of them's complaining in the back, where I want some goldfish, Daddy. I don't have time to help the Samaritan.
Yeah.
I've got a kid who's driving me crazy behind me. If kids, I don't. Okay, Lena sometimes turns these on. Kids, if you're watching this, I don't. That was just an example.
You owe them a buck.
I might owe them something.
Do the same rules apply like in the Old Testament where they couldn't touch something unclean?
That's definitely true. Yeah. If the priest or the Levite were to touch them, they'd be unclean for 7 days. And so that's something I do always think of. Like, how many hundreds or thousands of people can they help that they won't be able to help if they touch this man? Like, 7 days is a long time.
So what's the difference between a priest and a Levite?
I don't know. I could have looked that up before this and I didn't. Do you know?
No,
Do
because
any of you know?
the priests come from the tribe of Levite,
Right.
so isn't it like a priest and then another priest? Or somebody who
Well,
works
so
in
the priest has a
priestly
little more
duties.
stature.
Yeah, I would guess just by name that priest is like
If you're
a
looking
Levite
at
plus.
militarily wise, this guy's a general, the other guy's just one of the soldiers.
Because the priest
Sure.
would have been a Levite too, right?
Probably.
Priest could go in the temple, right, but
Right.
not
Yeah.
necessarily every Levite.
That's true.
That's true.
Go into the inner.
That's true. That's true. There were like 4 sections of
He
the
has more
temple.
steps.
One can go into section 3. The priest can go into section 2. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but both of which would become unclean, may have been busy. And I do think about this story a lot because you can't walk or drive anywhere ever. And I don't just mean in Portland, I mean in any city ever. You can't go for a very long walk without finding someone that could use some help. Right? Like everywhere. And so maybe they just weren't paying attention or didn't notice. I don't know how you wouldn't notice someone bleeding out by the side of the road, but it's
Well, it does say Luke
Us?
saw him and looked at him. The priest saw him and the
sure.
Levite looked on him.
That makes sense. Okay. That's
They did
besides
see
my
him.
point then. Yeah.
It's something that really struck me when you preached on this a while back was the fact that they had both the priest and the Levite were responsible for a lot of other people. And I think of, like at times when I'm in a situation where I notice something, like, oh, I could go and help, but if I have like kids in the car, like I can't put them in a potential, unsafe environment. Like going and getting the trailer, for example, last week, like I was able to go do that with Mike and Derek, but I would not dare go do that with my kids in the car, and if it was just me and them. And so it's like, and that reminder of like, man, they have other people that they're responsible for and that they're helping too. It's not like these are just, selfish people who, aren't helping others.
Right. And then I think about also, like, let's imagine this story on a Sunday morning and you're walking to church and you're preaching that day and this happens. Or Bud, when you were doing the Bible study at your house on Thursday nights, like, let's imagine it's Thursday evening and you see someone by the side of the road, but you've got people coming over.
People.
Yeah. I mean,
I agree.
It-
And that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Because we're busy, we have things to do,
the story gets complicated. It's definitely complicated, and I think Jesus meant to have it be complicated. It's not easy to use our power to help all the time, and sometimes it's not possible, or it seems like it's not possible. What do you think the Samaritan gave up by helping?
time, money.
Oh, definitely money. Shoot. And yeah, time. He said he not only picked the guy up, took him to the inn, but said he'd come back. And then said he'd pay more. Time and money, like that.
And the denarius was a day's pay.
Yeah. That's
So
a,
it was a significant amount. It wasn't just a buck or two thrown his way.
right.
It's a significant amount.
Yeah,
If you
15.
took today's pay, if whatever you get paid in a day,
Right, let's do $15 an hour times 8 hours. Can't do math. $120?
yep,
Yeah. It's a lot of money.
yeah,
That's a lot of money
it's
to,
a day's pay.
yeah. That's a lot to give
It's
up.
a tank full of gas.
Yeah. Currently, it's a tank full of gas. Next week, it'll be a half a tank. Oh, man. Well, that's depressing. Yeah, so the
So it wasn't just a little money.
it's not just a little, it's a ton of money. That's a lot of money. This guy is using so much to help someone he doesn't know. So let's think about people. Let's maybe start with people we know, people in our church who are having a rough go of it these days. I mean, obviously, Kevin just went to the doctor, so.
It's all paid.
Huh?
It's all paid.
It's all paid. You're feeling kind of crappy, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Everything's paid though.
that's good. I'm glad. Things would be rough if you added medical bills on top of this.
You just figure out
Dude.
the amount of money you spend in pop, and then, there's a 5-cent fee every time you buy a bottle.
10.
Yeah.
10. You could really be on the saving end.
It's true. You could buy the hospital.
You could buy gas for your car without no problem.
You could say.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think of Pat. She hasn't been able to be here in a while. She's hurting quite a bit.
well, I know people who haven't been here in over 2 years.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
because of situation,
Mm-hmm.
their age, a lot of reasons.
Yeah,
But we don't need to wear that mask after Sunday, Monday this week?
Yeah,
Right.
Sundays, it's over.
Right.
It's good. Yeah, even indoor.
yeah,
Can places still request you to, though?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The
Places can't,
I wondered about doctor's
but
offices and stuff.
they can require
it's
still.
not a mandate,
The
but it's optional.
it's optional, but like
No,
You will notice Joyce and I wear a mask,
yeah,
but we don't do it for us. We do it for my grandkids.
yeah,
I
yeah.
have 2 grandkids that are in,
They have immunity issues.
yeah, they have neutrophils. I don't know if you know anything about neutrophils, but they're the white, neutrophils, sorry.
I don't. What is it?
They're the white corpuscles in your body system that fight infections. And
Okay.
their number is 0.
They fight bacterial infections.
They have 0?
Theirs is 0.
Oh my gosh.
Wyatt-
The
Wyatt-
lowest.
Well, when Wyatt was tested, his was 0. Jana, hers has been up and down.
Okay.
The last time it was only 250.
What's normal?
500,
You should have 1,500.
1,500. Yeah.
Holy cow.
So
Oh man.
that's why we would wear
Yeah.
a mask.
Yeah.
But it's not because
Yeah,
we're worried about getting it.
Right.
We don't want to pass it on.
right.
And there are a lot of those issues out there.
Mhm.
My daughter, who is diabetic, is a teacher,
Yeah.
and she's concerned for her health, so
Yeah.
she'll wear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
As I understand it, places, obviously private businesses can make their own decisions. I don't know about doctors if they can require.
well, it's up to the company.
Right. I know the guy that runs the comic book shop in Kenton, he has said he's going to continue requiring masks because private businesses can say whatever they want.
So there's a comic place
In Kenton, yeah.
really?
Yeah, yeah.
You a big comic guy?
Not a big comic guy. I go in there on occasion. I like Doug a lot. He used to have a shop right over here, and then he moved it over to Kenton. But he's a pretty big guy who's involved in the community. So good dude. Yeah. But yeah, so some businesses are going to keep requiring. I think we said we're going to strongly recommend. I'm still going to wear one on Sunday. I probably should wear one right now. Janelle certainly will. But we're gonna leave it at strongly
but the
recommend.
doctor's office will tell you wear 'em all the time.
Huh?
Doctor's office.
Yeah.
Cost you,
They should, though. They have sick people coming in a lot. Like, if there's ever a place to always wear a mask, it would be the doctor.
I walked in there with nothing on, and they told me, "You got a mask?" And I no, here.
Oh, they just had it ready for you?
Yep.
Good, good. They should. So now we mentioned some people who have had it tough here, and I'm glad that you mentioned your family and like some of the difficulties they've had going. That's another one that we can think about who's having some difficulties getting by
There are
these
people,
days.
Just job situations.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I'm very blessed, but all my kids are working. But there are families that had to say, well, one parent has to stay home with the kids.
Yep.
Somebody has to be here to do homeschooling or whatever it was. And things are difficult, when you're talking about cost of living here. And Joyce and I have talked about this before, because we already mentioned gas, but just to get gas to go back and forth to work
Yep.
is a huge amount of money to be, when you're talking from like $3 an hour to, $3 a gallon to
Five.
$5 and
Yeah.
$6.
Yep.
You're doubling your gas bill
Yep.
now, and
Yep.
wherever you have to go to do it, it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult for families and difficult for you to budget.
And they couldn't like they did in 1980, because the kids don't go out and steal the gas.
Yeah.
I mean, you can still do that.
So that's where my gas went.
It was you.
Because they do that in the 78, 79, they did that, stole gas.
Yeah.
It's not new because.
No, it still happens.
Yeah.
There,
when I
someone
went to
stole.
college,
Remember, someone tapped our gas tank when the church van was out here. They don't siphon it out the side anymore. They put a nail through the bottom and let it drip out into a bucket. Yeah, it's
Usually, it's easier.
super annoying. Yeah, that was.
It's a lot more expensive to fix.
It was dumb. I was mad when it happened. Yeah, and so let's use that gas example. What's a way that perhaps we could use power for good for, say, a family that's struggling hard
Well, if
with
you knew 'em,
a gas
if you
bill? Yeah.
knew the situation, you
Yeah.
could, get them a gas card or buy their gas for the month, or say this is for your gas, or you could bring gas. I'm not really recommending that deal, but.
Well, we need to get old Trump back in office.
Well, and this is a big push in the
It's the
United
second
States.
time tonight he said that.
What did he say?
Gotta get Trump back in the
Oh.
office.
That's
That is not gonna happen.
yeah.
You never know, if you got 3
dreaming.
years to
Yeah.
go yet.
Keep dreaming, baby. But there's other ways that you may provide transportation, even if
Horse and
the
buggy.
kids need to get to
Sure.
school or get to a doctor's office.
Mm-hmm.
We were,
I feel like
When we
carpools
were
are going to
young-
become a big thing again.
when we
pretty
were
quick.
young, we only had one car.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so when, the kids had to go to the doctor, or either she had to take me to work, or I'd get a ride to work, or sometimes I rode my bike. I don't know if I'd do that today, but
How far was work?
about, 10 miles?
Wow, that's a long bike ride.
Yeah, but in those days,
You were an athlete.
Yeah, but there were no bike lanes in those days.
Oh,
There were
geez.
no places really I'm on St. Helens Road, which is a 4-lane highway.
Yeah.
And
Oh man.
over the bridge, and, yeah.
What, I took my horse over the St. John Bridge years ago.
A horse?
Yeah.
Cool. Why?
That's where all that poop went.
Yeah.
But
Very
yeah,
cool.
there are a lot, there's a lot of different things that you
Yeah.
can do to help.
Yeah.
in those ways.
We've,
And maybe it'd even be to watch the kids.
Oh, yeah,
while
that's
you're
interesting.
doing
Yeah, yeah.
something. Doesn't have to be money. It could be
Right.
time.
Right. All ways of using power to or like abilities to care for other people. Yeah, that's great.
I'll share with you something that happened to us. One time, I broke my ankle at work. I mean, broke it. I had it operated on it, straightened out. It's still kind of a mess. But I got home, and I'm not working, and somebody in this church bought food and brought it to my house. Now, the only thing my kids were so excited about was fruit. We could not afford to buy bananas, apples, oranges, that kind of stuff. Well, they had fruit in there, and the kids were, it was like one of them awe moments where Halo was around their heads going, we got fruit.
Thanks,
You know,
Dad, for
and
breaking your
that moment has always stuck in my mind.
Wow.
They didn't come just to, and they, as far as I know, they never even told anybody. They just brought, I don't know, was it 2 or 3 bags of
Do you
groceries?
remember that day?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's incredible.
It was
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So great.
Another thing was the church, they used to have like a Christmas dinner
Oh yeah.
here. And, of course, I'm at home. I couldn't come to this. So we got the leftover. I mean, there was a lot of leftovers of Christmas stuff, or turkey,
Yeah.
and I don't remember what was all that. But those kind of things make a big difference. And I wasn't that we were starving or in a lot of need, but people, that's how you reach out when you hear something happen and you say, what can I do to make a difference in that person?
It matters. That is a life-changing. The reason I know is because it's been, 30, 40 years.
40 years.
You still remember it. You still remember those days. Like they seem like little things. I guarantee you the people that gave that stuff to you don't remember at all.
They may be dead.
Huh?
They may be dead.
They might be.
One of them is,
Well,
2 of them, I think.
you don't necessarily remember the things you're doing, but it makes such a freaking difference to the people that you're doing it for. It really, really, really does.
And
It's-
I actually, when I was in the hospital, I had my foot operated on. A lady in this church, she was battling cancer and had to go up to the hospital that I was at and have these treatments. And it made her sick, these treatments. And you're pumping all that stuff in your body.
Yeah.
She normally got sick. She didn't get sick that day. And she told her husband, well, I heard Bud was here. Let's go see him and visit him. And that made a difference too. I mean, she wasn't given anything but her time. And it was important to her. She
so
was
great.
one of those silent Christians here that, because she was sick with cancer, she didn't really go out much, but she wrote letters and notes to people and mailed it to them.
That's huge.
Yeah, you don't know the impact of what those little things do to the whole picture.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about how Jesus used his power in this story and in telling this story, and here Jesus is this up and coming leader. He has power, he has influence, people are coming to him, and this lawyer, somebody of, esteem in the culture and society comes to him and tries to put him to the test, and he should have probably stopped when he was ahead, when Jesus said, "You've answered correctly, do this and you will live."
Yeah,
But then
if it stops right there,
Yeah.
the lawyer did great.
But then he goes, and at the end, Jesus says, "Go and do likewise." And so there is an emphasis on going and loving your neighbor. But that, to me, like, that's not the point. That's not the surprise of the story. The surprise is not this man being helped, but the surprise is the Samaritan. And so Jesus actually uses his power and his influence to actually lift up this group of people over here that is really despised, and they're not the ones that were robbed and left to die. Jesus is actually like lifting them up and saying, hey, they're actually doing something or contributing, and it would have been a very unpopular thing to say and to do, and not, it was definitely not a good political move for Jesus.
It wasn't. Yeah, no.
But there
No.
are things that you can do also that doesn't cost you money or maybe a little time. But that's the power of prayer, being able to pray
Yes.
for these people that need help. Praying that maybe God's going to answer these things.
Yeah.
You just don't know how much prayer means to people.
God created us in his image. So coming to him with our needs and our wants and our desires, and what we like, our requests for other people is seems really fitting in like bringing that to him. Matt, we'll close up in a couple minutes here, but have you had any times in which either you've helped someone else who needed it, or they've helped you when you did?
All the time. It happens kind of often at work.
Oh, at Harvest Homes?
Yeah. I can remember one time, it's not Harvest Homes related. We had a guy in the church, who was housebound, and he was an artist, and he didn't go upstairs. He couldn't walk upstairs. He found himself going upstairs, getting the strength to go upstairs to make a clock for me, because I went over there so many times to visit with him. He found the energy to make the clock, because
Really?
he even told me that to my face.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
He
That's so
probably
cool.
didn't want you to be late.
That's true. It was
It was a duel.
it was subtle. It was subtle. I'm gonna close with some words from James, and then one question for us to think about. My brothers and sisters, do you, with your acts of favoritism, really believe in our glorious Lord Jesus Christ? For if a person with gold rings and in fine clothes comes into your assembly, and if a poor person in dirty clothes also comes in, and if you take notice of the one wearing the fine clothes and say, "Have a seat here, please," while to the one who is poor you say, "Stand there," or "Sit at my feet," have you not made distinctions among yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts? I think about such simple things as the way we treat, or the way we think about, or the way we talk about different people that we interact with. And I think about the authority that God gave us when he created us in his image and gave us authority over all things. The ways, big and small, that we can use the power and the authority that God gave us for evil or for good. So I'd like to close with just a thought for us to all think about for the next couple of minutes. You don't need to share, you can if you want. But what in what way is God, or what thing is God calling you to do this week with the power he's given you? What do you think God's calling you to do this week? Just one thing. Let's take about a minute and think about that. God's given us all power that can be used for evil or for good, for righteousness or for pain, for suffering. We've heard a bunch of ways in which God has worked through us for other people and worked through other people toward us. Bud and Joyce, I love your story about the church reaching out to you when you got hurt at work. We have a lot more authority and a lot more power than we think we do. We tend to think of only people higher up in the world who have all the power to do good or to do evil, but we all have that each and every day in our lives. May we recognize others as also being images of God, and may we use our power for good, for God's glory. Matt, do you mind closing us in a word of prayer?
All right. Dear God, thank you for this time. Thank you. Just help guide us to ways that we could help others in ways that we have been helped before. And it may be during those times that we are being helped, and as we're helping that person. Thank you for this time that you've given us to enter your word, and give us a good rest of the week. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you all. Glad Kevin dragged you all here today. Appreciate that.
Well, we were kind of worried because we were clear out in Beaverton area.
Drive a
trying
little
to
bit faster.
get here. Huh?
Drive faster.
I was just about to say,
So there's no
Hey,
driving fast.
the traffic, there's,
can't
about
drive
everywhere
faster
we
than rush
go,
Yeah.
somebody's building something. Or
Right
the
over it.
highway out there on
Now they're tearing up 217.
217, yeah.
are they?
Yeah, I think they're gonna widen it, but
Oh my God.
it's a mess.
I was wondering, like I was just driving down Columbia Boulevard yesterday, and they've got like chunks of it tore up, or even Lombard the same way, like, why don't you finish one road
Right,
before you
put
start
all your
another road?
resources and all your people into one thing, finish it in
What
one
kills
day.
what kills me is when they pave the road, and then they come back.
Yeah,
to tear
tear
it
it
up.
up and
I know.
Fix something like the sewer or something.
I loved
or
when
speed
the
bumps on
the,
Pheasant.
Somebody
fe-
said
the
there was
president
a-
speed bumps. 70 grand that cost to undo it and do it again.
Somebody said they're gonna take the rails out of,
Yeah, that's happening this
St. John's.
summer or this spring.
Oh, out of Lombard? Yeah, I heard that.
Well,
I
some
think
places
Derek
have
told me.
their act together because Oregon City had their main road for a while.
yeah, that's because they're in
Theirs
the
is all
sweet
nice
spot.
Is it?
It's done.
Wow. That's great. I'm glad they figured it out. I hope they can, I don't
It's
know,
our city.
trade leaderships with Multnomah County.
They'll make the road look nice and stuff.
I think one of the problems is you've got like PBOT and ODOT, and I think like Lombard is technically an ODOT responsibility, and because it's a highway, and so you get the highways, but then this, and it's like, it's at the end of the day, it's all taxpayers. Like, figure out how to talk to each other, and
They want you to buy a horse and buy a buggy.
yeah.
And then while
Just go
they're
back to
doing all
dirt
this,
roads.
we're getting all these major ruts places
I
that
know.
you can drive in if you're not careful. If you're driving at night, you can't see it in time.
Oh yeah, boom, hit it. And
Some of them are really deep.
This was my favorite picture I've seen all year. Cracked me up.
Oh, little Valentine's love heart.
Happy Valentine's Day from ODOT. Just a giant heart-shaped pothole.
They got a number for that.
Huh?
That's a pothole number.
Yeah,
You got one down there on Lombard, one number you can call.
Sure.
yeah.
You might see it.
If they come, then that's great.
3 years from
Yeah,
now.
Well,
exactly.
Even down Lombard, the deal with Lombard is they're changing all the lights out. They're all being put on towers.
Oh.
That's the issue, and of course, they gotta dig up the street to run the wires, to if you notice, a lot of places have now tower boxes by the curbs, cause now all the power is channeled in there, so they don't have to go underground.
More than that though, because like that.
Well, that's the
far
biggest
out by
issue.
Greeley